Hi everyone, great to have you join this talk. We have Saasha, one of the founders from Olio, with us today. Hi Saasha.
Hi.
Nice plant there, I can see. Right, well today we're going to find out a bit more about Olio. I would love to introduce some insights into the climate change emergency we all face, how being a food waste hero and individual action actually makes a huge difference collectively. So perhaps we can start with a really simple one. What is Olio?
Olio is a free app and also a desktop app, so mobile and desktop app that connects neighbors with each other so that good edible food can be shared and eaten and not left to go to waste. We also have a proposition called the Food Waste Heroes program, whereby we recruit and train volunteers who collect unsold food from all different types of businesses, supermarkets, et cetera, and then take that food home and share it on the app. So we're really connecting people to prevent good food from going to waste.
Amazing. And what started you on this journey?
That's a good question. My co-founder and I have been friends for a long time, and we've worked together in the past. And we were both on maternity leave when we sort of had a collective awakening and really started to think about how we wanted to spend our time and what kind of world our children would inherit. So we started looking for a problem to solve, an environmental problem that would basically put our sort of skills and experience to good use. And whilst we were in the middle of looking, Tessa had an experience moving house. And on moving day, she found herself a food she wouldn't be able to eat in time. And the removal men wanted her to throw the food away. They said she couldn't pack it. So she went out on the street and tried to find someone to give the food to, failed, and in frustration, smuggled the food in her packing boxes anyway. And that was the light bulb moment. And within an hour of her telling me that story, we had decided that we needed to bring Olio to life.
Wonderful. Yeah, great story of how you started. Wonderful to hear that it started with you guys wanting to do something in the environmental space and then having this light bulb moment. Perhaps we can chat a little bit about climate change, and part of the reason for doing the talk is to hopefully help our listeners and the OnHand community understand more about climate change and the impacts that are happening. What worries you most about the emergency we're facing?
I'm hopefully everyone listening is agreed or aligned on sort of the threat that we are facing, the urgent threat that we are facing. But what worries me most, I think, is that we're not going to be able to get our crap together in time, collectively, globally, to mitigate the impact of the climate crisis, and that we'll reach a point of quote unquote sort of no return, where we catch ourselves in this vicious cycle of heating up the planet that goes beyond the point of human intervention or innovation being able to reverse, and then we enter a sort of a new phase of the planet that we can't get ourselves out of, which leaves a pretty sort of dire circumstances for our children and grandchildren to live in and to cope with. And there's the Uninhabitable Earth is a fantastic book. I recommend anyone who's wondering what the future in a 2.5 or 3.5 degree warmed world looks like, and the impact that'll have, especially on people who are living in the coastal or sort of around regions or around the equator. So a lot worries me about the climate crisis.
Right, and thanks for the tip there. So tell us a bit about food waste and the impact that has.
So food waste, if it were a country, would be the third largest contributor to the climate crisis after China and the USA. A lot of people fail to sort of understand why. And it's really because the food supply system is such a big part, 25% or more of all global carbon emissions, that when a third or more simply is of all food produced goes to waste, which is the reality at the global level, then you can do the maths, and that's just shy of 10% of global carbon emissions are directly related to food waste. So it's when food goes to landfill and decomposes without access to oxygen, it converts into methane. So that's a much more sort of deadly greenhouse gas. But then also it's not just the food itself; it's the land, the labor, the water. 3/4 of the world's 25% of the world's fresh water supply goes to grow food that ultimately is never eaten. So all of the resources as well are wasted. Project Drawdown is, you might be familiar, it's a group of 160 climate scientists sort of from all around the world. And every year they publish a report where they stack rank all of the different climate solutions and the impact that if they were addressed, what impact they would have. And last year, food waste came in as the #1 thing that we could collectively do to help mitigate the effects of the climate crisis. So it plays a huge role, and it's not something to be dismissed as sort of food returning to the ground in some sort of nice, nourishing, composting way. It's a massive environmental problem.
Fantastic. Thanks very much for that explanation. It's really, really useful to have. The concept of Olio itself, I mean, at first glance, it seems really simple. Actually, it is really simple. And I'm guessing some of our listeners will know about like the total impact you've had globally. But I think some will be surprised at how big you guys are. Maybe you can give us an insight into the impact you're having and how that growth is looking for you over the last couple of years.
Sure. So we've been around for 6 years, and we've pretty much doubled or tripled, I think, in the last year or 18 months. So COVID has been a fantastic sort of opportunity for Olio, if I'm honest, because individuals as well as businesses have it's really sharpened their attention on food and the value of food and the value of community, et cetera. So we've got 4.5 million signed up users all around the world, just under 1 million using the app every month to share food. We just crossed the 30 million portions of food successfully shared between neighbors. And our environmental impact to date is we've saved 4 billion liters of water, and the equivalent of 80 million car miles have been taken off the road. We're obviously hugely carbon negative because of the impact of our operations. Is just, by definition, is carbon emission saving. And we have really big ambitions. So we have publicly stated many times that we need to get to 1 billion people using Olio by the end of the decade. And the reason for that is because 60% of carbon emissions come from decisions we make within our own homes, of which our food waste footprint is a significant source. And we're sort of moving away from a food waste app to becoming the app that helps you live and connect with your community and live a more planet-friendly life. Not just within food, but within non-food and sort of everything that you do and the way you interact with your environment and the consumption choices that you make. And if we can get 1 billion people to change their behavior, even just a little bit, that we believe that small action times lots of people can equal transformational change. And that's what we need if we're going to have any chance at all of escaping the apocalypse.
Yeah, it's a great message. And I think you're a wonderful example of how the individual action just builds and builds into such a collective force. I think I was only reading, it feels like yesterday I was reading that you'd hit 2 million users. That you're at 4.5 million is quite incredible. Do you say 30 million or was it billion?
30 million portions of food have been saved.
Yeah.
And at least, I don't know off the top of my head, but probably half or 2/3 of that is within the last 12 months alone.
Amazing, thank you. And so what does becoming a food waste hero, what does that mean?
So we provide a service to businesses who don't want to have edible food going to waste. And so businesses will try to sell at a discount and then donate to charity. And then at the end of the day, there's a lot of food that's left over, if I'm honest, that can't, usually it's same day perishable food, right? So it might have a use by date of today. And that food, if it's fit for human consumption, we believe should feed humans and the general Olio community. So we have 30,000 trained food waste heroes all around the country. Approximately 10,000 are collecting each week from several thousand business locations, including we have a national contract with Tesco, with Pret a Manger, with loads of caterers, sort of niche stores like Selfridges and Planet Organic, et cetera. And basically we match a food collection opportunity, let's say 8 o'clock Holloway Road, Tesco, Tuesday, with someone who lives nearby who has taken the relevant training for that business and that food type, which all can be done online in a self-service way. And the volunteer, the food waste hero, claims that collection opportunity. And that then means they are put into a volunteer group within the app, a group chat with everyone who collects from that store. And they're sort of guided as to how to go about completing their collection. So the collection is the act of volunteering. And that would mean that you arrive at 8 o'clock, you show your badge, You take all of the food that's available. You take it straight home. Hopefully you live within walking or biking distance. Although obviously in some places the collections are bigger and people need cars. And they take it straight home and they add the food to the app. That then sends alerts to neighbors nearby, right? Sanjay's added 6 tomatoes, etc. And then people request what they want, and you can divvy up you divvy up the food into different bundles. Your neighbors pop around to your house within the next hour or two. So the same day, you give them their bundle, they're ecstatic. You make a connection with someone in the community. Over time, you make friendships, etc. And so it's the act of rescuing food, bundling it up, and redistributing it. And of course, it's all governed through our food safety management system, so it's done in a safe way. And the Food Waste Heroes opportunity is, I think, a very unique and rewarding one, because not only are you actually taking food that was literally destined for the bin, it had to be eaten today, the delight. I mean, it feels good to share food. Like, there's a reason that humans love to cook all around the world. Like, giving something of nutritional value to another human, it is, we're hardwired to feel good having done that. So it's a very nice, discreet, feel good activity. And we'd love to get more and more volunteers signed up, because we have just recently closed contracts with several national partners that we're really excited about. Oh, and I should add that the volunteer gets to keep 10% of the food for themselves as a bonus.
Yeah, congratulations on the growth there. It's quite amazing. And for anyone who's listening into the talk, coming soon, you should be able to see Olio Food Waste Hero opportunities on the OnHand app. If you use the filters for food waste and homelessness, it should appear there. So have a look, do pick them up as you see them coming in. And maybe one last question for you, Saasha. Do you have any personal sustainability tips or hacks that you'd share with anyone listening in?
There's sort of 2 things I do with regard to reduce my food waste footprint that are quite simple hacks. So I have an Eat Me box at the front. It's just a cover, like a Tupperware box without a lid, and it's front and center in the fridge. And anytime I see something that sort of, maybe only has 24 hours left on it, it's in the back of the cupboard underneath, whether it's an app, anything, I move it to the front of the box, because then when you first open the fridge, it's the first thing you see, and then you don't forget about it, right? And it's left to wilt or fester in the bottom of the drawer. And I also do a lot of batch cooking and freezing and individual portions. And so even today, for example, like on the way out the door, I'll grab a frozen container, wrap it in a towel, and then put it in my bag. And then by the time I've reached where I am now, my destination, it's not melted. So it's still frozen. It hasn't leaked, right? It's chilly. And then I can put it in the microwave. And I didn't need to stop and buy food at Pret or someplace else. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but it saves money. I get to eat what I like. And also, batch cooking is a great way to use up all sorts of random ingredients, in your fridge.
Great tips. Especially love that first one. I've got plenty of food that starts festering, but I love the idea of an Eat Me Now box. I love that. Saasha, really appreciate the time. Look forward to sending you plenty of volunteers.
Thank you. My pleasure. Happy sharing, everyone.